So I finally caught up on my season progression. And it took me 3.5 hours today to go through the AFK levels, the Jura's trials, various other game modes that I had sort of fallen shy of doing. And I also I've only participated in the new event, the one that you can actually get stargazing tokens from. I've participated in that event like twice because it is ridiculous. Now, I'm not going to go into that event in detail. Barry Gaming, one of our sort of most prominent content creators, already talked about it, and I agree with everything that he said. It's just a poorly designed event for the type of game that AFK Journey is. But that brings me to a really important question, or a really important topic. What kind of game is AFK Journey? And I think this is a problem that the game has. It sells itself as an idle game. AFK Journey sells itself as a sort of spiritual successor to AFK Arena, in the sense that it is supposed to be an idle game, but it demands the same kind of time from you on a daily basis to an extent as games like maybe like Wuthering Waves and Genshin. It wants to be an MMO, but it's not. It doesn't have any of the core features that make it a good MMO. It's a great idle game. It is a really, really good idle game. It's one of the best idle games on the market. It's got an added layer of complexity that most idle games do not give you, and that is fantastic. It is great. And I think like the sort of the tactics, the levels, the way that the fights are set up, the fact that you can kind of outplay them, all of that is fantastic. You couldn't do that kind of stuff in AFK Arena, but you know, when we look at the reality of this game, despite a beautiful map, despite the surface dwellings of an MMO, everything that you did in this game was purely moving from point to point, taking out an enemy of progressively higher level and progressing the game that way. There's no different in reality to AFK Arena. On AFK Arena, you had a set pathway. You couldn't move through the land. But what did you actually do in this map other than move from point to point? There was no secrets to find. There was nothing special to do. There's no reason to go back and re-explore. You know, a difference to things like Lost Ark and Genshin is that there is a reason to go back and explore the land in some way, shape, or form. People don't like that I've kind of wanted some Lost Ark style inspiration in terms of finding secrets on the map, but it really would make the game a little more interesting and give you more reason to go and explore the beautiful landscape that has been created here. Because, you know, in reality, it is a beautiful landscape. They have done such a beautiful job with this game. The graphics, the sort of the world in general is just absolutely beautiful. But it is not an MMO. This is an idle game. And I think, like, since this event came out, there's been some talk about the game and kind of like where it positions itself. I've yet to really take part in I'm trying to find the actual events tab. I've yet to really take part in the Astral Fair. I think I've done it twice so far, and I'm really struggling to find the time or the reminder to log on and actually join these 15-minute events. Like, they are far too short in terms of time. It really should be something that you just kind of log on and get the chance to go and do throughout the day. A lot of people have tinfoil hatted that this is a way to increase engagement. But it's a really, really poor way to increase engagement, and I don't think that they would kind of go down that route because, frankly, no one wants to engage with the game in this kind of format. You don't want to be forced to log on at intervals, otherwise you miss out. That doesn't feel fun. So, frankly, like, I think bring it back to the point of this conversation is like, does AFK Journey have an issue where it wants to be an MMO, but the game is not set up to be an MMO? I don't think the game needs to compete with things like Genshin, Wuthering Waves, Honkai Star Rail, because frankly the very core aspects of the game just aren't the same. The whole game is designed to be something that you log on, and really you should not be wanting to play this game for more than half an hour to an hour every day. The way to encourage monetization is to create attractive pools and kind of, I guess, as all these games do, set up artificial barriers that would somewhat otherwise require, a monetary purchase to get through. And that's, not saying that's a practice that I love, but that's a practice that pretty much every game does. And the other game that I really like to play, Warcraft Rumble, does the same thing. Has like PvE missions where, frankly, you would be waiting a long time to get an army good enough to complete that PvE mission without spending a little bit of money. And so that kind of brings me also to an issue with the season. And it's been obvious because for the first time, now I absolutely did not miss a day. For the first 40-something days of this game, I was on every day, maxing out everything that I could do. And then I just got burnt out, a bit bored, a bit sort of, like, well, what else? What am I supposed to be doing now? The season definitely brought some new interesting kind of mechanics, and I liked exploring the season map, but it didn't. The game didn't change. It was just adding a new map to explore, in which really I just walked from point to point, not reading the quests, killing the enemies that I was required to kill to advance the campaign, and that was just kind of how I engaged with it. I know other people might not engage with it the same way, but that's basically the way that I did it. I missed a couple of days, right? I missed a couple of days where I actually completely forgot to get my AFK rewards. It can be quite punishing not to pick up your daily instant AFK attempts. I didn't progress the AFK stages as far as I could have done, so therefore, like, my actual essence gain was down. And to be completely frank with you, I dropped, like, my rankings from top teens. So I was kind of ranking in the Dream Realm from like 11 to 13. I dropped from 11 to 13 to honestly almost struggling to scratch 20. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but frankly, for a lot of people, that probably isn't. And I'm sure there are people that have got worse instances than me. But when you look at the rewards, and I'm just about hitting top 20 now. When you look at the rewards, if I can find the actual rewards, for goodness sake, where are the rewards? Oh, they're here. It is the case from getting 50 less Dream Essence, you get 1 less Tidal Essence and Temporal Essence, and given how unbelievably rare Temporal Essence is, that's a big deal. And in terms of, I don't even know where I am on the district. I would be surprised if I was in the top 100 in the district. If not, I'll have a look now. 96. I'm barely hitting the top. I was previously out of the top 100. Now that I've grinded and got myself back, I'm kind of just about scraping the top 100. But, I'd be surprised if I was able to keep my top 100 ranking. And that, that is a difference between... Well, actually, you don't actually change much difference there. Do you know what? I was maybe overestimating the Dream Realm ranking. Actually, you kind of keep the same from... You basically just lose the cosmetic, but frankly, I don't really care about the cosmetic. But, it does make a difference. Being out for 1 or 2 days and suddenly you're being overtaken by everybody in the Dream Realm rankings. And that's because the core issue with this season is that season resonance level is more powerful than anything else. Seasonal resonance level increases your power in this game by a massive amount. So if you somehow get behind on your essence collection, your leveling up, you drop behind so far on sort of seasonal power, and you can get massively overtaken. It's why some whales that have quit are now being pretty quickly overtaken, because the seasonal resonance level is much more important than your ascendancy, potentially even your X weapon power. That stuff is obviously great from a core, but the season is designed to allow everyone to get to a relatively equivalent level, because the seasonal resonance level is the most important thing in terms of defining your power. Obviously, I think magic charms also coming into it. I've noticed now that I've got a few of the prismatic or the sort of the shiny magic charms. Things have become so a lot more powerful in terms of damage output. But that is the problem, that you really can't afford to take a day off, and so you get to this issue where it's supposed to be a game where I think, frankly, if you don't log in for a day, that's okay. I feel like you should be in a situation where if you don't log in for a day, like, you're not going to get severely punished. But if the way it's set up is that if you have to log in every day, you have to kind of participate in every single event that you can participate in every day. Otherwise, you do have a significant hit to how you can perform on a seasonal level. And that to me is difficult, because that kind of, I don't mind logging in for 5-10 minutes every day. That's not too bad. But that, there is so much to do in the game now, so many events, so many things you've got to do on a daily basis to kind of keep pace with everybody else, that frankly, like, it feels somewhat unsustainable for an idle game. It doesn't feel like this game wants you to be idle. It actually kind of more feels like this game wants you to be engaged like an MMO. And like I said, I don't think this game has got core MMO qualities. It's got surface level MMO qualities for sure. But frankly, to me, this is an idle gacha game at its core. There is nothing else apart from some very sort of shiny ways of presenting idle engagement and idle combat. To me, it doesn't feel like there's, like, this is, I don't even compare this to Wuthering Waves and Genshin. I just don't think it compares, because I just think they're very different types of games. But that to me just feels like there's a bit of an identity crisis for this game. It wants to be an MMO, and they've kind of said as much. They want this game to be an MMO and to feel like an MMO, but the core concepts of the game aren't MMO-like. There's much more idle kind of game style than it is MMO style. Obviously, I love the tactical positioning. I love kind of how you approach fights, but frankly, like, it's very different and honestly far less skill dependent than doing something like Wuthering Waves, where you have very skill driven fights to an extent. And yes, power level makes a difference in Wuthering Waves, but there's a lot of skill driven capabilities there. But hey, I just wanted to kind of make this video because it has been, as you might have mentioned in my previous, or you might have heard on my previous video, that I was getting a bit burnt out. I kind of put the effort in today to get myself back on track, but you know, there is an element of burnout here because it feels like you have to constantly keep pace with a kind of gameplay loop that doesn't really want to be played at that level. Like, the gameplay loop, I think, is much more enjoyed at a casual level. But then maybe that's the price of wanting to compete in the top 50 of a server. Maybe you just have to be resigned to the fact that if you want to compete in the top 50, you just have to be that engaged. Anyway, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. What do you think about where AFK Journey is right now? I'd love to hear your thoughts and kind of if you're still playing, if you're not playing, or if you're thinking about quitting, why. I will still keep playing. I'll still keep creating content for the game. I do still really love the game, but I'm just, you know, voicing some maybe issues that I've had over the last few weeks, I suppose. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you soon.